Lights, cameras, action. Now let's engage in the dialogue. Let me browse through your mind like a catalog. Conscious metaphysics, allow me to break down the specifics. Educate, motivate. If you don't feel free, you can liberate. An LLC is what I'm building, the #1 podcast in the building. So let me slide on up in the Bentley truck in my Versace shirts. They can't get enough of this deep conversation, expansion, elevation. I'll send you a link you can tap in. It ain't quite what I used to do back then. Now I get it on the front and the back end. Multiple money streams keep coming in. Enlightened, empower, evolve. Enlightened, empower, evolve. Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. I know everyone's doing well and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited yet again, and you know why, because I enjoy engaging in enlightening dialogues with people from around the world, and today's no exception. I have today a very special guest who is a 30-year meditator, healer, businesswoman that has overcome strong health issues and healed herself with meditation in a natural way, and just many more things. I'm excited. Without further ado, I would introduce you to you, Elizabeth Love. How are you doing? ¿Cómo estás, Elizabeth Love?
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I'm very happy to be able to share some knowledge, some information.
Yes. And before we even get into it, I was mentioning to you earlier, and I think it's important to highlight this. You said, especially, you're of Mexican descent, and you've had trouble, really just appealing to people because of language barrier and all that. And what I was telling, what I was relaying to Elizabeth, everyone, is that there's somebody that's going to watch this podcast that's going to feel the exact same way, and is going to resonate with the adversities that Elizabeth is talking about. So yes, we'll just take our time. I know this is in English, but if there's a few things that you want to say out there in Spanish, because I do have some people that that speak Spanish that listen to my podcast in Mexico and in other
awesome.
And where else? Because I look up, I get a report of where people listen to my podcast. So I've had people in El Salvador, Peru. So there's some Spanish speaking people.
There's a lot of Spanish speaking people listening to you then.
Yes. And I for some reason I resonate with them, and I'm so happy. So yeah, let's just get into to it. Give me a little bit of insight on your spiritual journey. You sent to me that you would like to talk about how energy in our body works and things like that. How did, first of all, before you even talk about that a little bit, how did you even get into this whole thing about energy in the body? What made you aware of this?
Okay, so first of all, I think we are different groups of souls here in the planet, and I do believe in reincarnation, and some of us that are born already a little bit advanced with some spiritual knowledge. So I never knew this. I never knew that I was a spiritual person, but since I was a little girl, I always felt attracted to the silence. I was born in a very Catholic family.
Yes, Catholic.
One of my uncles was a priest. My mom, she was in the convent, but she did suffer some disappointment from some things that she saw in the church. But where I grew up, the church belonged to my family. Right. So but I wasn't aware of any of that. I was just a little girl, and my grandma would take me to church, and then for some reason I will wake up around 6 or 7. I'm talking, I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and I will get out of my house, go to the church, and sit in silence. That's what I would love to do every morning. And in my way to the church, I will pick up flowers from gardens from the neighbors and put them for the Virgin. And I grew up like that, and I remember realizing I never liked going to church when people was there. I'm a person who I cannot be around a lot of people because I pick up all the energies, and it's a little bit difficult for me. I'm a very empathic person,
Yeah,
so
sensitive.
I feel everything and everyone. So when I see someone, it's almost like if I'm reading the person.
Right.
But those are things that you are not aware as you grow, as you are growing. But I remember in my house there was a little statue of the Buddha, and I was always attracted to that image. Who is this guy? Who is this Buddha? Like um, so I grew up. My parents bring me to US, and I end up living in Houston for some time,
Right.
and I got connected with meditators, yogis, and they brought me into this world. And with time, I realized that everything happens for a reason. We are
Absolutely.
all connected sometime, somehow, and
Right.
all those people that came in my spiritual path, um, we were connected in previous lives already.
Right.
And sometimes we just come back and continue the spiritual work.
Right.
So there was one particular person that I connected with that really guided me all the way um, to where I am now with all my knowledge. But as I was growing up, I always had spiritual experiences, and I always had different kind of people coming into my life and talking to me about spiritual things or giving me knowledge. Is I honestly, people who charge for spiritual work, I don't agree. I know
Right. Right.
many people says, "Oh, it's okay. We have to make money," but to tell you the truth, the most beautiful and spiritual things in life don't cost money.
Right.
They are free.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I don't like it when people is trying to make money with spirituality, even though they say, that we deserve, yes, of course, but we're already surrounded by all the abundance,
Right.
you know. So basically what I'm trying to say is that everything came to me. I never went to look for anything. I never went and say, "Oh, I want to be a healer." I never went and say, "I want to be a meditation teacher." None of that. Everything just came to me, and day by day, I keep learning because we never finish learning. The to accept the things that God wants to give me,
Right.
and that's what I do, because sometimes when we try to do our own thing, we think we know, but we don't. In reality, when we
Right.
want to do it in our own, it's never going to happen the way we think. Life is going to throw you something else.
Right. Right. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth, and I'm trying to record everything that I want to highlight of what you said. First of all, I have to
Mm-hmm.
commend you that even though you and I want to actually say this to you, be
Mm-hmm.
careful what you say too, because you, to me,
Yeah.
don't seem to have any trouble articulating yourself. No, so
No,
now say I used to have trouble.
I used to.
You used to because it's
Well,
not happening. You
I don't
articulated
feel.
yourself. Go ahead.
I don't feel like 100% confident.
Yes. And
I try to
that's
express myself, but it's like something in my tongue is difficult to come out.
that's no, that's just all in your mind, and you have to get out of your
Okay.
own way because I felt the way that you articulated yourself, the way you expressed yourself. You painted vivid pictures, and I could totally resonate with everything you were saying. And I'm going to break down some things. So I want to commend you on really painting those vivid pictures. Go ahead.
One more thing. Sometimes when I'm speaking,
Right,
is it might not be me,
right.
because people like me, we get enlightened by higher energy sometimes,
Yes, you're
and
exactly right.
we don't, like, I wasn't thinking about that before the interview or this podcast,
Right,
but it just came to me right now that it has happened to me before,
exactly.
when I have to express or communicate something. It's not really me.
Right. No, I get it
It's this
because,
is
and I totally resonate with that. So
divinity trying to give a message to the people.
right, because I write, I even oftentimes when I'm engaging in dialogues like this, there's things that I say, I go back and look at it and say, wow, I didn't know I knew that. But how I really can understand what you're talking about is that I actually write music. I write
Mm,
positive hip hop music now. Okay, and you can find it
that's
on
awesome.
Spotify
We
and
need
everything.
that.
Yeah, it's on Spotify and everything. If you look up it, after here, everyone
Yeah,
who doesn't know yet, even you, look up Luke Bryan Smith on
I
Pandora,
will go and look
Spotify,
that up.
Apple Music, and look up some of my positive hip hop music. Anyway, back to
Yes.
the point. Oftentimes when I'm writing those songs, it's not even me. It's
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself a conduit of the message, the
Right.
spirit. Yes, but back to what you were saying, I want to elaborate on a few things. I totally resonate with the growing up in the religious family and really not feeling totally at peace with the whole thing. And this is
Correct.
not for everyone that's out there. This is not a criticism to
Oh
any
no.
religion because I believe that everybody has a you have to do what resonates with your heart and what aligns with your
Okay.
spirit. And what you were simply sharing is that something didn't align with you. And that's exactly with me. Even not to really get totally in detail about it, but I used to ask a lot of questions that people in the church, including my own family, would get angry because I'm asking these questions. But I
Mm-hmm.
believe that we're created to be inquisitive and to ask questions. That's the way we learn. But it was shunned away because, oh, you don't ask that. This book says this, you don't ask any questions. And
One of the things that I learned in my journey is that we are being blocked from all our powers.
right,
Why? Because many religions, I'm not trying to criticize again, but that's what they do.
right,
Um, they say they want you to be praying outside of yourself,
right,
when in
right.
reality all the power is within,
Yes. It's not
because
empowering. Yes.
we are um we are like a drop of water from God. Like,
Right,
we are a creation. Okay, so they say we are sons of God.
right.
Then why we are not treated like that?
Or don't we treat ourselves like that? You're right.
Exactly. And
Be-
that's what they don't teach us. They tell us that if somebody comes and hit us in the face, to put the other cheek.
right,
So, in other words, they are using religion only for control of the masses.
right, right. To keep you dependent and to get you to think and go the way that they want you to go. And like you said, turn the other cheek. No, you have a right. I understand what you were saying. You have a right if somebody hits you to strike them back, to not,
remove
yeah,
remove yourself from the
remove
suffering.
yourself or whatever. But
It's
you don't
like
have to, yeah,
they keep teaching us to suffer instead
right.
of teaching us to live in love. love, in harmony. No, you have to suffer. So
Right.
you deserve something at some point that nobody really knows.
Teaching
Instead of
us to suffer now and that you'll get a reward later. No, you get your
ins-
reward now. All through
instead of
life, we're
telling
meant to
us,
be live abundantly and to thrive. So
correct,
yes, that's just people
correct.
that have that are trying to indoctrinate you with things to keep
And
you
so
distracted.
somehow the people ruling in those spaces, they tend to believe that they are the only ones that can be rich with the money that everybody's putting in the church, but everybody else should be poor
Right.
somehow, because they praise being poor. Oh, it's okay to be poor,
No.
They always talk like if Jesus was poor, and I totally disagree with that. To
Right.
me, Jesus was a very happy person. To me, Jesus was rebellious. That's why he was killed,
Right.
and Christianity never existed when Jesus was on earth.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
created after he
By
left
man.
by men to
Right.
control.
To
So
control.
basically, they use him to make money and to control everybody.
Use the idea of him. Right. No,
Correct.
no, yeah, that's a whole different episode. Yes,
Yeah.
and wow, yeah, we see we are meant to have this conversation because we're in alignment, what you call
Right.
on the same frequency, you know,
Correct.
the same frequency. Now, your meditation, do you meditate every day?
I live in that state of meditation
Right,
because once you become a meditator and you understand what it is, you always try to be aware. You always try to be connected. You see,
right,
of course, the mind is always gonna be wandering, right? But when we meditate, we learn to use the mind as a tool. Not We don't allow the mind to control us, but we control our mind. And people don't know how to do that because nobody is teaching anyone to do that.
right. And
And
oh, go ahead.
mhm.
Sorry. I
No,
was
no.
about to say that what another powerful message that I got from you is that when you said, and see, this tells you I'm listening to everything you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to go looking for anything. So basically, you tuned in with that God power in you, with your intuition, and you allowed and listened to what was coming to you. And that, I don't want to call it a problem, but that's where I think a lot of us, including myself at one point, that's the issue right there, is that we don't listen to our natural spiritual signals, our intuition, because it'll never lead us wrong. And like you said, there's nothing that's coincidental if you allow it to flow. Like you even mentioned prior to this show that you had kind of wavered off of your journey. Not saying you're doing anything bad, but not staying on point like you want. And then here I
Mm-hmm.
showed up with this, this
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. Things like that do happen, and I don't doubt it at all that I am that God is using me, has used me to,
To send this message.
yeah, to give you a nudge. And also look what's happening. You're here on this
Yes.
podcast in which you
Yes.
didn't think you would, you had a little
Never.
doubt, didn't think you could do it, and you look like, and I'm not just saying this, a person that has been doing this for a long time.
Well, the thing is that I always trust where I have to go and what I have to do.
Right.
And I right away understand when it's a spiritual message for me. I somehow I receive, some sign, and I know it's something I have to do. So I just trust it and I go with the flow, basically.
I like that. I like that. Live in the flow. I'm really big on that flow. And that's something that I actually work on all the time. And sometimes I don't want to say, I'm being careful what I'm saying because words have power, but
Yes.
I don't quite live in the flow at times. And I have to push myself back on there and remember that, you know what?
Hmm.
There's a reason why this is happening. especially in through difficulty and what I perceive as difficulty and adversity, there's something
Mm-hmm.
that's going to help me grow from this, get stronger, something that I need to realize that's why this is happening, and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And that's what you call flow. That means embracing the what we perceive as dark, light, positive, negative. It's all contrast, but it all, just like I said at the beginning of this podcast, everything is unfolding perfectly. And when you live like that with that mindset, that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly how it happens. Everything is unfolding
Yes.
perfect.
The thing is, from the moment we were born, they started to program us.
Right.
They give you a
Exactly.
religion, they give you a name, they give you the education they want, and you don't have an opportunity to choose by yourself.
Right.
So that's one of the things that's why people don't go with the flow. They are not used to listening to something higher
Right.
than them, that is guiding them to their destiny, to what they're meant to do, because we are programmed to obey. So
Right.
everybody is just obeying. They got used to it. When you go to school so many years, especially in USA,
Right.
there's no freedom. Kids have no freedom. They sit in a classroom for 8 hours. They hardly ever see the sun or go
Right.
play outside. I mean, maybe 1 hour of 8 hours in a day, but they cannot talk. And if they talk, they get into some type of drug because they think he's hyper.
Yeah, it
And
suppresses your creativity. And like you
correct.
said, not to cut you off, but you're just really exciting me with what you're saying. And I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
think we'd go off onto this subject, but yeah, everything from the time we were born is meant to suppress us, control us, and indoctrinate us to be workers, really, if you think about it. And I'm not
Yeah.
putting anything against education, but the education system, especially in the Western culture, and a lot of other places too, is just meant to program you to work for somebody, to be a
A few
worker.
a few years ago, I realized that the U.S. school system, one president, I don't want to mention names, I don't want to get in trouble or anything,
Right,
but they started, kids with attention deficit disorder. These kids are genius,
right,
because what these kids need, they need a space, they need meditation.
right,
Why? Because their mind, yes, is going like 100 miles per hour, is
right,
going fast, but these are the kids that can actually change the world because they are the creators.
right,
So they are in front of a teacher speaking, and their mind is wandering somewhere else because they are not interested in that subject. They are so intelligent, they need something else. So one of
exactly.
our presidents realized that, and they changed, and they made this No Child Left Behind. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
So what it is memorization. That's what our kids are doing. They're only memorizing all the information.
Right,
They remove all the thinking, all the creativity. In some schools, they're trying to remove the art and
right,
music and these things, because they realize if they make these kids just memorize, they won't make it in the system, because they are not made for that. They are made
right.
to create. So
Create, develop, invent. Um, yes, like you said,
they are the ones that could
we're
actually bring
creators.
everything that is wrong about our system. They are the ones that could bring it down, but everything is already made to not allow them to do what they have to do. But the truth is coming out.
Yes, yes. Powerful stuff, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Yes.
We've down to about 5 more minutes left. So what I
Wow.
want to ask you is how can people find you, get a hold of you if somebody wants to seek your help, your assistance in regard to meditation or language barrier, especially spiritual, help
Mm-hmm.
or of any kind in the Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
speaking
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
even English too. But how
Yeah.
can people find you?
Well, my Facebook is there, or I mean, I don't
Elizabeth
know.
Love, on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. Okay. All right.
Or I don't know if they want to call me. I don't know if I should give my number or not. Or
I think we'll save that. If you have an email, maybe.
no, I think the Facebook is
Yeah,
better.
Facebook, because then that way you can gauge the energy, and if you want to exchange numbers with somebody, you can do it. But I don't want you to do it right here on the show and leave your number like that.
Right.
Even though I do trust me and I trust people like me,
Right.
I just
But we
want
don't
to,
know.
yeah, at the same time. But that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. So before we go, here's what I want to do. I want you to give me, if you have any last words, encouragement that you want to say. I want you to say something in English, and then I want you to say something to our Spanish speakers.
Okay. Well, before that,
Okay,
our subject was gonna be energy healing.
right.
So I guess we started talking about things that are important as well. But
That means you
I
got to
will
come back on the show.
that's what I was gonna say. I think we really have to do that podcast because it's important for people. So maybe I just mention a little bit about that.
Okay,
Because you want me to say something that can actually help people. And the main thing for me, I will say, people need to learn meditation because meditation has so many benefits for health. People who meditate are the people who are going to awaken, are the people who are going to be happy,
right,
are the people that are going to be, especially nowadays with all the wars, we went through the pandemic, so much depression. We really need to understand that nothing is outside of us that is going to help us.
right,
We have to go within. I know it might be easy for me to say because I'm already connected to divinity or a higher self, or
right,
I connect very easily to
right,
something beautiful. But for the people who haven't experienced that blissfulness,
right,
that God, whatever you want to call your higher self, um, try to look for the meditation.
right,
You have to do the work yourself. Nobody's gonna come. There's no doctor, there's no psychologist, there's nobody that is gonna help you.
right,
People has to help themselves. And it's actually work. It's work within yourself. So a lot of people cannot meditate because they have too much that they need to heal,
right.
but they need to start looking for
A
the
lot of
help.
trauma.
Yes, it's so easy. Go to, well, I'm not gonna say every meditation in YouTube is gonna help you, but it's a place where you can start looking for something. If you can go to a yoga class, go to a meditation retreat, but you have to start somewhere.
Wow,
So your life can actually get better. Meditation can heal inflammation because through stress, all 99% of the sicknesses that we have are related to emotions and stress.
wow. Yes.
99%.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much, Elizabeth Love. Elizabeth Love, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And yes, we're going to do a part two, so look out for that. Also, yeah, hit her up on Facebook under Elizabeth Love. Also, check out my website, 333 Empower. And if anyone's interested and you think you'd be a match for this podcast, send out an email at 333empower at gmail.com. That's 333empower at gmail.com. Enlighten, Empowered, Evolve. See you soon. Love and appreciation.
Bye.